Would you like to live in one of the most beautiful places in America? Fond of the ocean and working hard for some real cash? Well, stick around because I'm Baden Kearns, and today on Unseen Cultures, I will be examining the remote Alaskan towns who rely on fishing to uphold their economy and provide jobs for all. In my opinion, summer is one of the most interesting times of the year for these towns, and their summer plans are far from what goes on in my hometown of California. While most kids out there would work part time somewhere like Jimmy John's, most Alaskan natives will hit the water and spend months at sea catching as much as possible while the season is good. Men like this require characteristics not found in the average person, and those who truly dedicate themselves to the sea are rewarded handsomely for their efforts. Fishing has been one of our main resources of food since the dawn of man, and Alaskans have one of the richest histories of it. Hundreds of families spanning generations have cycled through these towns, so a lot of pride and respect must be given and eventually gained for someone working as a fisherman. When talking to my buddy Tyler, who has worked on his dad's boat for years, I learned that those who inherit this line of work could start as early as 8 years old, and the majority will continue into their early 60s. The actual job begins at the break of dawn and does not slow down until there is no daylight left, which actually does not happen in some parts of Alaska. This is due to their midnight summer sun, and there will be days where the sun is up for 22 hours. That means these fishermen are spending at least 16 hours a day fishing nonstop, sleeping for a bit on the boat, and then are straight back to their nets, hauling in as much product as possible for their ship. The long hours and intense physical labor that the job requires break a lot of newcomers' spirits, and those who are able to stick with the industry form a very tight-knit bond. The crewmen of ships spend countless hours with only each other's company, redefining the definition of a coworker into something a lot more personal for them. A great example of this is a journal by Lauren Barassa and Blake E. Ashforth, titled "You're About to Party Defiant Style: Socialization and Identity on Board an Alaskan Fishing Boat." The author fully immerses himself into a life on a 50-person fishing rig. The onboard culture is one of humility, honor, and testosterone, for there was only one woman aboard the entire ship. You had to work unfairly hard to earn your status of a true crew member, with veteran workers only referring to new hires as new guy instead of their names, and then sticking them with the worst jobs like hauling the trash. That said, this can be avoided by going out on a smaller fishing boat, such as a family-owned one, which Tyler frequently uses. The culture on a boat like his is completely different, for he spends his days with some friends and they all split the work evenly. They all respect each other and get the work done while still having a good time. Well, as good as a time as you can have for fishing all day. Back in '81, a survey conducted by Lily Che and Jeanne Culbertson revealed insightful trends among Alaskan high schoolers concerning their aspirations and expectations for education itself. Students from Dillingham, Adak, and Unalaska completed a survey in which they were asked if their educational expectations and aspirations were high, medium, or low. The results clearly display how entwined fishing is to these towns, with only 18% of respondents planning on finishing high school. While these statistics are pretty shocking, it makes sense when you can consider the Adak population more than doubles with the fishing season. On another note, this was in '81. So a lot of these men who did not finish high school are beginning to, if they have not already, pass on their fishing careers to their children and grandchildren. This makes me question if in today's modern age, these old school values of hard work and respect for your local people, over breaking the norm and leaving Alaska, are being passed down to the new generations, and what that means for the modern Alaskan youth's future. In another study conducted in 2018 by Jesse Coleman and Courtney Carruthers, we can see the clear importance of fishing is still being carried through the generations, yet there are less looking to go full-time into the industry. In Dillingham, almost 90% of respondents agree or strongly agree that fishing is a major part of their life. The other towns surveyed, Togiak and Kokonak, also had at least 75% of their respondents agree or strongly agree with this statement. However, when given the statement, "I expect commercial fishing to be a part of my future," only 50% of Dillingham's respondents agreed. This is a drastic change considering 72% of students have dropped out in the past in order to pursue a career in this industry. Yet this trend is not Alaska-wide. In Togiak and Kakanok, the ways of the past seem to be more influential, with around 70% of these towns' respondents considering commercial fishing to be a part of their future. Referencing the interview I conducted with Tyler, he got into fishing through his dad and only works in the summers now. When I asked him about switching summer jobs, he never even considered it. Tyler has been learning about how his dad's boat operated since he was 8, and therefore was always planning on fishing for the summers. His crewmates were the same way, having 10 plus years of experience fishing and not needing to consider anything else. There were other options for work around his town, and he was not forced into it by his parents, but it's what he's always known, so why switch? Regardless of what these kids want to pursue as a career, hundreds routinely work their summers away out at sea, most of them with friends they have known for ages on a rig that was originally their grandfather's. If it hasn't been made obvious by now, fishing is more than a career choice to the youth of modern Alaska. It is an inherent and integral part of their culture. Without being a native Alaskan, I don't think an outsider like me will ever truly understand the socioeconomic impact one can make when they come from a smaller, tight-knit town that carries the pride of generations through the youth. Unfortunately, though, there is a graying of the fishermen working these shifts. A graying is basically when the average age of those working in the industry increases over time. Therefore, only time will tell what that means for the future of this career and the cultural pillar of Alaska. Thank you all for listening.